Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us, whatever time it is where you're located. I'm Ron from Storemaven's marketing team. We are going to start in about a few seconds. We'll give people more time to join us. All our panelists are here: Anissa, Amos, Yoav, and Jonathan. Two small things before we begin. Because of time difficulties and technical issues, we won't have a live Q&A at the end of this session, but feel free to leave your questions in the chat and our speakers will do their best to answer them. Also, we will share all the panelists' emails at the end, and you're more than welcome to contact them. Additionally, the recording of this talk will be shared with you all in a few days' time by email again. Okay, I think we can begin. Let's start. So thanks again for joining us for today's discussion in partnership with our good friends from YellowHEAD, as we are going to tackle gaming growth, optimizing the full user journey for effective app install campaigns. I'd like to welcome again our speakers and begin with a short introduction. Anissa, why don't you go first?
Thank you, Ron. Hi, everyone. I'm Anissa. I am a marketing manager at Wooga. I've been at Wooga now about 5 years, and I've been focusing the last year specifically on App Store optimization on June's journey, and of course, getting us ready for iOS 15. A little bit about Wooga, a mobile games developer in Berlin. We were founded in 2009. And we make very thoughtful games with compelling stories at their core. We have a really broad portfolio of games, with June's Journey being our current crown jewel with more than 2 million daily active users. We did also just launch our brand new Match 3 game end of last year called Switchcraft. So if you haven't yet, make sure to check it out. It's absolutely magical. We publish our games in more than 20 languages. We're at 300 employees at the moment with over 50 nationalities. And we were actually acquired by Playtika a few years ago, which has really brought a vast new repertoire of knowledge and resources to the table. Thank you.
Thanks, Anissa. Amos, would you be next?
Hi, I'm Amos. I'm Director of UA in SciPlay. In SciPlay, we manage all of the user acquisition efforts across the portfolio of the company. SciPlay is a mobile game developer with games in the social casino, solitaire, and casual business. Recently acquired a new company in the hyper-casual industry. We have offices in 2 branches in the US, in Israel, and Turkey, and in Finland. And great to be here.
It's great. Yoav, please.
Thank you. I'm Yoav. I am a team leader at YellowHEAD. YellowHEAD is a company, an agency, a performance agency that specializes in running our clients' apps and games. We do much more on other verticals, but today we will focus about games. We have also a technology which is called Allison, which I will tell a little bit later. I'm at YellowHEAD almost for 2 years now, and thank you for having me.
Cheers. Great to have you. And last but not least, Jonathan.
Hey, so I'm Jonathan. I'm VP Marketing and Growth at Storemaven. Sorry. I've been with the company for about 5 years, spending most of my time researching and writing and reading and talking about mobile growth. For those of you who don't know, Storemaven is a platform to grow mobile audiences. With specifically, we deal with creating product pages that perform at scale. So now with all the new iOS 15 features, with custom product pages, we help marketing teams and UA teams identify their top audiences and create product pages and optimize them on the App Store and on Google Play on our platform. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. This is our agenda for today. I'm just going to run over it. We're going to discuss the changes in UA targeting and channels post iOS 14.5, different strategies for ad creative ideation, leveraging custom product pages, and of course, the important topic of measurement. Fine, let's begin, everyone. Jonathan, I want to start with you and go about the main changes in the channel mix post iOS 14.5, which channels are working best right now?
Sure. So a lot have been going on in the past year and a half. So I just want to unpack what's been happening and what we've been hearing from our partners, which are some of the largest mobile game and app publishers in the world. So at first, we basically saw a pretty major shift of budgets from the iOS ecosystem to the Android ecosystem, which was pretty well understood because Apple, basically with the deprecation of the IDFA, pretty much crippled the ability of self-attributing networks, mostly such as Facebook, to perform targeting or to offer targeting in their ad platform the same way they did before. I do think that this shift is kind of balancing itself back to the iOS ecosystem now that folks have been figuring things out. It couldn't be a long-term move anyways because the Android ecosystem is closely mimics the iOS ecosystem in the sense that Google they actually announced their privacy guidelines with the privacy sandbox, and for some it actually reads as something more aggressive than what Apple has been doing in terms of not allowing folks to track device identifiers. So that has been one part of it. And when you look at different ad networks, we definitely saw a major shift in spend away from Facebook mostly, but also other self-attributing networks, because they were the ones that relied the most on user-level data in order to offer targeting. They've built these insane user graphs based on what every device or user did in each and every app and game that they used, and they couldn't do that anymore. And Facebook, just from their public earnings call, they estimated the hit to be about $10 billion, and they lost like a quarter of their market cap in one day recently. So the hit there was pretty massive until they figure things out and how to make it work. And then the budget shifted a bit more towards the other ad networks such as ironSource and Vangel and AppLovin and those folks, which were always contextual in their nature, that they relied less on these IDFAs for targeting, and targeting is more based on which games basically and apps folks spend time in. So it's more contextual anyways. And we saw a lot of budgets move there. So that's, I think, sums it up for me.
Great. Yoav, anything to add here?
I can just say that Jonathan gave a very elaborate answer, so I don't have here much to say. We at YellowHEAD seeing the same trends, although we are starting to see clients going back to iOS after understanding how to handle it better. We can say that we are seeing in terms of the networks, we are seeing shift to TikTok, which is really rising these days, and also other networks, which also the implementation of all of these kind of priorities and implementations that you need, the technical stuff are a bit more simple than in other places. And that's it. I don't have much more to add on top of what Jonathan said.
Thanks. Amos, I want to address this next question to you. How are you tackling audience targeting these days with the lack of targeting capabilities post IDFA?
Sure. So like Jonathan said, Facebook and the self-reporting network indeed have been crippled. Their ability was mostly reliant on graphs based on IDFAs. Still, there's a lot of contextual targeting that you can do with Facebook. All of the keyword targeting, the demographic that is a bit more elaborate than what we're able to target on other networks. So there's still a lot of work that we're doing with them on that area. We are still trying to optimize the consent rate to still be able to target and upload custom audience and audience seed. Still, it's the best driver. But yeah, we need to work more on understanding the user audience. For a matured app and a mature developer, we have the luxury of knowing who are exactly our audience, where we can find them, what they love, not based on privacy hacks, but based on knowing them and asking the right questions in our communities, in-game, and built on that.
Thanks. Yoav, I would love to hear your take here.
So I will start in saying that before talking about the audience, and I think we will talk about it plenty on this session, as creatives. Creatives was always a big part of UA success and efforts. With the changes that are going on in the industry now, it's even getting more and more drastic, the importance of creatives, and not just creatives, but which creatives are you creating, and the language that you speak and to the users that you speak. But if I'm looking at the targeting themselves, so we are going a bit broader along together with the creatives and trying to let the algorithms do what they can and find the right, with the right creative to get to the right people. Lookalike, which took if we are talking about the lookalike audiences, which took a major hit, we are trying to base them along with the clients more on client-based. And understanding in general, I think that our work as marketeers, understanding the products, understanding the USPs, understanding how we can approach our users and the different users that can be interested in our games. This is the name of the game, and trying to harness still the tools that the platform gives you. But at the end of the day, we are going, yes, broader than before, and putting much more emphasis on the creative side.
That's great. We do see a lot of, these teams doing more innovative work around finding new audiences. So in light of these changes, Anissa, can I please ask you how Wooga approaches this matter, finding users with high affinity to your games?
Yes, of course. This is actually a really great segue for me to talk about our CPP efforts as well, because at around the same time Apple announced the new feature, we were looking at reworking our positioning strategy and exploring potential new audiences. So it really made sense to look at this topic more holistically and work towards creating a more aligned install funnel experience for potential new users with different motivations. So the way we went about it was really a combination of audience research and various tools with a special focus on Storemaven's funnel analytics. It's really been a game changer on how we identify new opportunities, and it's made our process just so much more efficient by having all the data in one place. And it also helps to very easily visualize low-hanging fruits. So what we did, we focused on two different approaches for identifying new potential audiences. In the first round, we looked at taxonomy findings of app referrers. So funnel analytics, the feature breaks down the taxonomy of all traffic coming via app referrers. We get direct insights on relevant KPIs, page views, downloads, CVR, sales, and then have them broken down by genre, context, and class. And these findings really help us easily identify what other gaming genres our new installs are coming from and which users from which prefers are the most valuable. And also where we can easily optimize the install funnel. So for example, on June's Journey, we saw that a high percentage of users come from coloring games. Really great traffic, really good sales, but super low CVR. I mean, clearly our store page from a hidden object game is not optimized for coloring games and their usual value propositions and messaging. So we kind of had a look at the breakdown of coloring game apps that we got a lot of traffic from and started investigating their app store pages and their ad creatives to ultimately understand what motivates users to download those kind of games and what their USPs are. So with that information, we tried finding an overlap of similar values and USPs within our own game to then create a custom product page that would appeal to the coloring game audience. So we looked at messaging, tone of voice, design, motivations, and we found general themes like escapism, relaxation being a very common theme, and tried drawing parallels to our own game. And hence we created the ad creatives and the custom product page for an entire coloring game audience. And with this method, we set up our initial 5 to 10 custom product pages with all new audiences, which have now been live for around 2 months. The second step we took was looking at search term bundling. So also with the help of funnel analytics, we were able to drill down on our highest performing paid search terms. Again, we looked at our main KPIs and spend on Apple search ads to identify the different search term groups with the biggest opportunity that were previously within a more broad ASA campaign. So then similar approach as before, we analyzed all gaming apps with top rankings on those search terms and created our own value propositions off the main themes we saw on those store pages. So currently right now, we're working on a dedicated funnel, ad creatives, and custom product page for new audiences converting on search terms such as escape room or spot the difference, which are really interesting themes our game actually explores in certain features, which we just haven't used as a core targeting motivation before. So this is how we've come up with our current efforts and new audiences.
Wow, that's amazing. Thanks, Anissa. You touched on so many things that we're gonna drill down on. So let's move to the other question, to the creative part of the discussion, and it's a question for all four of you. How should we approach ad creative ideation these days? Jonathan, why don't you start?
Sure. So the way that I like to think about it, like what has changed is basically the role of targeting is shifted from ad networks to UA and marketing teams. In the past, it was almost like too easy to think about it. Like you reported to, I'm just using Facebook as an example, but you reported to Facebook who are the people, the actual people that make your best audience. I mean, the highest LTV folks, for example, and they created an audience and built an audience of people that are with a very high probability similar to those people. Once they lost that ability, the role of getting targeting right has shifted to the marketing and UA teams, and Anissa talked about it just now, and it's exactly what we see across the industry, where folks are using ad creatives as a form of targeting. Because if in the past you would, report to Facebook your top users, and then they would build a lookalike audience. You would throw a ton of creatives there, and Facebook would do a really good job in understanding which creatives work the best for that audience. Now, what Facebook and other networks are doing is they take the creatives you provide them and find the audience that responds the best to those creatives. So it's kind of different, right? Exploring the entire market to find the folks that respond the best to these ad creatives. So the actual messaging and creative you have within the ad creatives is kind of a form of targeting. So with Anissa's example of coloring games, if you would position a hidden object game to that audience and really highlight these kind of features that are similar to a coloring game, that's the kind of audience that your ad is going to be served to. So I think a lot of sources for ideas for creatives come from that audience research, understanding exactly which genres of games your users are coming from, learning from that what it means about them as an audience, and then creating ad creatives with messaging around that. Yeah.
Great. Anissa, any thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely have to agree with Jonathan. Since we do use our creatives as a means of targeting, we recycle a lot of our audience research, what we know about our users, the previously mentioned CPP learnings into our creative ideation process. And based on these identified new audiences, which we're building custom product pages for, we're also in the process of testing ads highlighting those features, that gameplay or that narrative we've identified as valuable for exactly those users.
Nice. Amos, your takes?
I think it's problematic to speak third for this question because the answer that people give are so good. So it kind of takes like the stage of
what Yoav will say then.
I think that everything that was mentioned so far is on point, both what Yoav mentioned before about the tailor-made experience. I think that if we put aside, the giant tech feuds between Facebook and Apple, I think that basically the change kind of wants to push the users to get a better experience, either from the game side to develop and to be more unique and just not to have a red ocean of the same apps over and over, where the competitive edge is just like, the micro optimizations based on what you do better in UA, but just show good experience to the users. And we take it, like you have said, to a place of offering a tailor-made experience. What to show to which users, where, how to emphasize our strongest USPs for which user persona. CPP is a great layer for that. Like we can create a full end-to-end experience from the first touch point to the last touch point until he enters the game. And for complex developers, even in-game, you can offer a segmented, I don't know if it's the right word, experience for the user. I do think that in regards of creative, we've seen this evolution of how developers approach creative from the product side as well. We saw it with PlayerX implementation or using playables as a means to understand which feature should be developed. So definitely it gives a lot of fun and responsibility to the UA teams to be a part of the development process, thinking what we can show to these users and what might be developed further on.
Great. Yoav, I know you're fourth in line for this one, but don't worry, we prepared two questions solely for you. So anything to add here?
I won't make it longer. I had time to think about my response. So it's, you have your benefits on being last. I think that all the things that were said here are to the point and are correct. I can say that just in terms of the UA efforts, we are focusing a lot on the contextual ads and giving the custom experience to the user. But we, at the same breath, are still also doing, and it's not the two options. It's not just a custom experience or using just what we know that worked in the past, but we are not neglecting also what we did in the past, also in terms of ideation, because in the process of the resources that you need, sometimes some of the things, again, it really depends on which game it is, on which genre it is. You can also try and do some things that can be considered, I will call them quick wins. And there are two parallel lines that we are working together. And one other thing that maybe I will explain more on the next question is, we are also trying to use technological tools in order to break down everything that was said here, the USPs, the motivations, the elements inside the games, and trying to harness technology also to help us by taking decisions, because the amount of creatives now and the amount of personas that we are approaching will be vast, very big, and it's hard to take all of this data and allocate it all in one place and look at it all in one place. And we are also using technology, in the case of YellowHEAD is Allison, to help us with this mission.
That's great. So you basically answered the process of building effective contextual ad campaigns. So another question you have for you, one of the ongoing trends is spending on channels like TikTok. And I know you have some experience there. What are some of the best practices and messaging you guys run there?
So as I said before, TikTok is a very growing platform that we are seeing. More and more users are, more and more clients are trying to go and understand TikTok and maybe get into TikTok as a channel. We are seeing more money going over there, more spends. The first thing that you need to understand about TikTok, it's a different platform. Talks in a different language. It's a video only, sound, very fast. We are talking about this all the time. You need to create content. And therefore, here from our experience, let's say if you take your videos from one platform and shift them to TikTok, I won't say it won't succeed, but the percentage of success that we see is lower. We are focusing our ads to have UGC content. A lot of time we are seeing people playing the game. We are combining between UGC and the game itself, showing what the game is, showing the elements and the different types of elements and motivations that you have in the game. So it's kind of a hybrid creative between UGC and the classic game walkthrough. There is also a beta, which is playable ads, which we don't have enough information, but it's something, again, as Amos said, that we can understand what are the users are looking for, and we can harness that to create better creatives. And one of the things that is working extremely well, as TikTok is a creators platform, and we see it in also other platforms trying to imitate it from TikTok, is using creators. Creators has a vast a following line, people who are playing the game, or even people who are not related to gaming or the EA Sports, but are somebody famous who can play the game. So taking creator with the power they have and making them introduce your game to the world is working very well. TikTok allows you to do that with their platform. It's not always a difficult and not always so easy to create, to connect to the right creator. But this is something that is working great. And also, again, you can find a lot of users which are not maybe on what you think on your basic base, following this person which can come from your game. And then you can also harness this with Spark ads. Taking this creator ad and using it from your own private TikTok account. And this is something which is less UA, but extremely important, because our job is today, we have like UA, but we need to understand that today a user wants the whole funnel, one big cohesive funnel, from the moment he sees the ad to the app store to the moment he goes into the game. So also investing and creating, like you have a Facebook page, a business account, which has material, which has content, which has people playing the game. All of this can really help you acquire more users. And this is what we are trying to do in YellowHEAD to help our clients.
That's amazing. I saw we have another speaker, Anissa, or is she's okay? Yeah, it's we'll send me her picture and we'll make sure to put her in the speaker's slide. That's amazing. It means that we have some nice content. Let's go to part 3 of our discussion, and we're going to mention, and all of you mentioned it before, custom product pages, Apple's newest feature. Jonathan, why don't you give us the short intro on how they're being supported all around?
Sure. So CPPs were launched a few months ago. It's definitely still in the adoption phase. Like with anything that Apple releases, usually there's a lot of bugs. Then nothing works the same as the documentation, and eventually it works as they said. So we're definitely in the adoption phase of it. One crucial part of CPP adoption is just not with Apple, it's with the ad networks that need to support either putting in the links to these product pages with the product page ID in their campaigns, or support the StoreKit rendered ads variation of it, and basically present the custom product pages and overlay when somebody taps on an ad. So right now there are a few ad networks that support it. Moloko, IronSource were the first. Apple searches themselves, of course, support custom product pages. And there are some rumors, kind of unverified, that Facebook is running an alpha program and they would roll out support sometime this summer. So I hope that's true. That's a big part of what would drive adoption. And in terms of the value that we saw folks get from CPPs, even through this adoption phase, very early on, the first one is basically, it's pretty obvious, like the cohesive funnel to optimize the creatives and match them to whatever expectations the users come with from the ad. It doesn't have to be exactly the same creatives as the ad, but something that continues their journey and then the story that we tell users through the ad creative. And the second one is actually measurement, which is, again, being adopted, and things have been a bit bumpy up until now, but it's actually very promising, which is measurement in App Store Connect. So Apple introduced a few new metrics and filters and dimensions within App Store Connect. So now you can actually see cohorted revenues. So if you monetize through in-app purchases, you can actually see all of the revenues. They don't have access to your in-app ad revenues, of course, but seeing that cohorted revenues per source, per refer, and per custom product page actually allows you to do something really interesting, which is to measure in a privacy first and aggregated way the revenue coming in from different campaigns, because you know which campaigns you're setting up to go to each custom product page, and you can get the actual and correct revenue figure for that campaign, which kind of goes around the limitation of SKAd network that allows you to measure really just early on revenue events. And that's like half of the ROAS equation. So it paves a path to calculate ROAS in an accurate way again. And that's something really, really promising. So that's where they stand now. And I basically predict that adoption will increase really significantly in the coming months.
Yeah, so there's a lot of changes that teams and practitioners had to think of. Anissa, can you please share some of the innovative ways you are using or planning to use CPPs for?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as Jonathan mentioned, right, at the moment, our innovation is still rather limited. We're only testing custom product pages on Apple search ads for our game's core features, mechanics, narrative right now. But of course, we do have some grander plans in upcoming months, very much, of course, depending on the network adoption. What we do want to test in the nearest future is actually leveraging custom product pages for our influencer efforts. So we're adding the CPP ID to our universal tracking links to optimize the funnel based on the influencer's vertical. So as an example, currently we're working with a lot of true crime influencers, which then we want to send the traffic to our dedicated true crime custom product page. And in the future, I can also imagine taking this even one step further for bigger integrations and creating an entire video or influencer specific custom product page. So I think, the sky is endless there. Other potential ideas that are in our backlog right now, we want to test seasonal custom product pages. So we see that holiday or seasonal creatives have not been working very, very well in our baseline store. So it might be interesting to test that on a CPP level and only send traffic from seasonal ad creatives. Also, we want to leverage them for bigger feature release campaigns. So dedicated custom product pages for brand new features, especially for retargeting and re-engagement, or for our anniversary. We're turning 5 years old this year, and that's definitely going to be a big bang. So a dedicated anniversary custom product page would be super interesting. We also have a crazy idea where we kind of turn around the entire approach. I'm going to call this the shameless recycling page. Just completely flip normal marketing upside down and just try and recycle unsuccessful creatives from previous failed tests and try and find the right audience. Might work as well.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing, everyone. I'm not sure if we can use this idea or not, but it's out there. That's it. Amos, anything to add?
Sure. Like Anissa said, we don't need to necessarily wait for networks implementation, because for non-self-attributed networks, we can just concatenate the CPP ID and show content like that. It's a heavy burden on the existing workflow CPPs, which is something that companies need to solve or understand how to change structure to support it better. We're in a world that we can't create enough creatives. We always need more, especially on social, on TikTok, on Snap, that require a higher refresh rate, because fatigue cadence is, we need to just create more. So we are kind of increasing the pipeline, and we want to do it with the grand plans, like Anissa said. We want to be as tailored as possible. We want to be granular in our taxonomy apps in networks and offer them the angles of our games that show the best correlation, and it's a problem. So I do encourage everyone to think how you can support it with the pipeline between ASO and UA. There's also a lot of collaboration that needs to happen between both teams, because in example, it depends on how the structure is based in each company, but maybe ASO handles iTunes Connect, but maybe UA devised the plan of how the campaign targeting and the ad creation goes. So you want to connect the right custom product page. So there's a lot of workflow and process that you need to solve. And like everyone summed it up, I think, again, tailor-made experience is the name of the game. You need to think if it makes sense based on your core and based on the different genres of people that your game can draw. If it makes sense just to think about like a few USPs of your game, or content or geo changes or whatever makes sense to your acquisition mix.
Nice. Yoav, this one is for you. How are CPPs being utilized with search ads now?
So the main thing that we are doing, I want to say that what Anissa and Amos said are amazing ideas, and I totally agree. And we are trying to implement them. Again, I think that what Amos said about creating those in high volumes in the speed is a real challenge. In terms of searches, I think we touched it a bit earlier. We are instead of thinking about the game and then allocating all of the words or all of the creatives to the targeting or to the search ads that we are using, we are flipping the process. And I think it's right to the search ads, but to everything that we're speaking here. We need to understand the motivations, what drives people inside the games, the micro mechanics that we have inside the game. And as Anissa mentioned earlier, creating these buckets of personas, and basically creating these buckets, having the right motivation or user or appeal to what we want to do. And then we correspond our CPPs along with the search terms. So every motivation or what you're looking for, once you search it, you will get the customized experience that you are looking for in the right time, in the right place, with the right message, which this is the main goal of CPP to allow you as an advertiser. So the main implementation we are doing at this time at YellowHEAD is creating this bucketing of personas and adjusting our CPPs to these personas.
Thanks. We're reaching our last discussion point, which is measurement. And so, Yoav, without user-level data, as we discussed through this session, how are you measuring ROAS these days?
So, as you said, it's a huge challenge. I think that the good thing that came to YellowHEAD is the connection. We are having a lot of more discussions and sessions with our clients to understand and to harness the data from their side and to see how the ROAS looks. We went through and we are looking at the ROAS at a higher level, let's say at the whole activity, and we are dividing the processing that we are doing. We are trying, again, it's very hard in a world where you have so many variables, but we are trying to do major steps and divide these steps and see how the ROAS is impacted by these major steps, whether it's approaching different personas, showing different use case of the game, changing this account structure, or even at the bid level or budgets structure. Another thing that we are doing in order to allow the ROAS, because I think that the world is going to, and even if we are taking Facebook as an example, statistical models which will try, again, the lifetime users of the lifetime value of users is more important now than ever. And we will see more and more statistical algorithms going in and trying to evaluate the ROAS and connecting between the ROAS and the upper or lower funnel, it depends how you call them, but to the less advanced levels on the funnels. And we are trying, along with our clients, to build these funnels, to understand which CPAs do we need, that in the end of the day will lead to a good lifetime value, and even further events like retention, like levels on the game. All of these can imply on the users and the quality of the users that we have. And our KPIs, amount of KPIs has grown. And also we as UA have more influence on these levels. At the end of the day, when I'm taking the user, it's hard for me to say exactly how much will he deposit at the end of the day. So I think it's building more KPIs, which you can control also with all of the delay that you have, that allows you to understand better, and working very closely with the clients or internally to understand the lifetime value and try to create these models that will help you understand the ROAS.
Thanks. Amos, your ideas here?
Sure. Unfortunately, it's a very complex answer. It's a very complex problem. The wiggle room that Apple gave us is very narrow. There's limited measurement of what we can do via scan. I think the answer will be different based on the game genres. For models that are less well-driven, it's easier to predict. For models that are more well-driven, it's obviously problematic because it's hard to predict long-term engagement based on, at best, 36 hours and maybe even 34 hours of event window. I think if I can give a tip is whoever didn't start working with predictive analytics or data science to understand user behavior, start yesterday. Like, really can't be emphasized enough. What I know people are trying to do, which sounds simplistic, but it's more difficult, is to try to create a conversion value schema with predictive events to try and forecast future user value, and then you can multiply with the amount of pairs to predict like ROI ranges. Nothing is deterministic, which is of course problematic when you try to optimize towards campaign. But from a business perspective, you can optimize it on a high level, but there's no solution to the UA managers in the end of the day. What they need to continue doing is, like Yoav said, pre-post analysis. It's not always available, especially on high scale, when you have a ton of things running in parallel. But try to create a segmentized area where you can make more pre-post analysis.
Thanks, Amos. Jonathan, this one is for you. How do you see teams these days embracing App Store Connect data for making UA decisions?
Sure. I think that what Amos and Yoav said is brilliant. I mean, data science and investment in data science tools and maybe even democratizing these tools to allow business users at the end of the day to access them and get insights are the key. For all of these models, the more data you have, or the better data you have, the better the output would be. And I think that there are a lot of teams that I saw that are starting to actually see the value in looking in App Store Connect and the data that comes directly from Apple. It's different data. It's not the way that folks are used to look at things, especially not the same way that MMPs surface this data, which is campaign-based. It is not campaign-based on App Store Connect, but again, that's because everything is becoming so aggregated in its nature to support all the privacy guidelines. I think that looking at revenue data in App Store Connect per sub-publisher, per source app that drives users to each app is extremely valuable to make decisions, and also to understand the insights that come from pre-post analysis, understanding the connection between UA and paid. For example, by analyzing these trend lines and measuring uplifts in organic traffic when it correlates to an increase in paid, you can actually measure the revenue that the organic side have been driving and attribute that to paid campaigns, which is something that was very, very hard to do before. So I think that it's work in progress, but a lot of teams are starting to look into it, and I definitely suggest to start doing that yourself.
Amazing. Thanks, Jonathan. I think that's the time we have today. So thank you so much for this informative talk. It was amazing. Anissa, Amos, Yoav, Jonathan, everyone who's watching the session, everyone who's watching the recording. I'm reminding you again to send your question through email. I'm going to share all the speakers' emails now. And also that the recording will be available in the next few days. You will get it again by email. On behalf of all of us, I want to wish you a quiet rest of the week, and thanks again for joining.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.